Hello, welcome to
Hello, everyone.
DevKami 118.
Welcome to the let me update the number. Welcome to the 118th episode of DevKami, and I am
Yep.
Chileong.
And I'm swimming. So Tristan will come in soon. It's beginning of the year. So it's our second week of the MCO, meaning we're going, and more
Under
importantly,
lockdown again.
we're going to, it's get delayed, and Tristan is in. Say hi.
Yes. Hello.
Yeah,
Hi, I'm
not that late.
Tristan.
Yeah. So what you guys been up to?
Busy
I
work.
well, I just received the. Remember last time we were talking about the
Uh, the
Hackster
AI
challenge?
what?
So I just got the Quick Logic
Wait, why is that
Feather.
transparent? Is that a kind of a new material?
Yeah, new material.
Look at that! It's transparent.
Yeah, so it's a small microcontroller with an
Uh-huh.
FPGA something, the Feather thing.
Yeah,
So we'll see. We'll see what we can do with that.
cool. So me, I discovered. So I recently read Network. Yeah, I just glanced through it. I just go deeper to the few chapter now. Uh, Pretty good. I recommend it in a way, but you don't always get to use it because it covers a lot about vector mathematics. It
uh,
covers a bit of
at,
statistics.
at work we have to sort of
Yes,
dabble with 3D recently, so that might be a good recommendation for swimming also.
yes. I recommend this. I recommend this uh, because math, a lot of it is about the vectors, and you can use vectors to represent matrices, and the book also cover a bit of statistics and what else. Uh, then toward the end, things that is more relevant to if you want to know how machine learning works, you can see. So I recommend it if you want to know how things work, uh, and also if you want to do a bit of code 2020. So then, of course, I've been
Yeah,
rereading
I
this
didn't
guy's.
finish it. I only finished until like the 21st day.
Yeah, same. Then I reread this guy just because. So, what you been up to, Chido?
uh
Work.
3D stuff, looking at 3D stuff, but mainly that's for work. But nothing else much for on the tech side.
Oh, of course, there's some interesting text set. I hope I can cover it. So I'm going to add this to the stream. So let's start with events. On 23rd, this weekend, we had a raw sec meetup. So this
What
is a
is
meetup.
ROSEC?
I think this is one of the local security meetup.
Is that? Oh, I thought it's gonna be like a Salmonella fest. Sorry.
No. The topic is pretty interesting. We found the SQL injection and all that. If you're interested in security, join them. These guys, if I'm not
Go
wrong, these guys are pretty good. So you might learn
go
something.
check it out.
Yes.
Especially we talk about hypes on syntaxes and stuff, but we seldom, these are the stuff that we, one of the important things we have to know about for
Correct.
our projects lah, for the things that we
Correct.
build.
The community also tend to go a bit deeper on things like EDA Pro. That's a reverse engineering toolkit. It's a reverse engineering, part of the reverse engineering toolkit. So you might actually learn something as well as the stuff that you use at work. So it's supposed to have Go Meetup on 26. I do not know what happened.
No,
Then I think that's
there's no
about
go
it.
meetup.
So we have nothing happening other than that. Lah. So we have something
It's a bit.
interesting on Saturday.
So do join up the Singaporean one though,
Yeah,
because these days we are just doing a virtual meetup anyway.
yeah, there's no harm and it's easy to do.
My issue
So
with
let
Go Meetup is that I don't know what's, because most of the important things were already covered by me.
yeah,
So if there's a request or anything, just ping me. I can do a reboot or do a
yeah.
refresher. But the bulk of the essentials were covered. So, and Go, most of the time we are using standard library anyway.
Yes.
So yeah.
Oh,
All right.
maybe what you can do is read because the book because it's also available on Safari online, and you
Yeah.
get the free like access to Safari Online if you're a member of acm.org. I think we've mentioned this as well
Yeah,
on the
correct,
past
correct, correct,
DevKami
correct.
meetups, right? It's very cheap. I
Correct.
think it's $15 and you get like
Yes.
a whole year subscription. So I saw it. I was reading through it. Maybe what you can do, Chi Leong, is like re-implement some of the Python code there in Go, because and like it does use certain data structures
Yeah.
that can be specific with Python, but maybe what you can do is you can try how
Actually,
would a Go do it.
it's actually pretty generic. Actually,
Yeah.
they use Python as an example. Everything is pretty generic. The Math library may not be as general,
Mm-hmm.
and the solution, yeah, it's few instances, very few instances. Most of it is a very generic internet structure.
The fun thing is that a lot of the Go users were from the Python community.
Yeah, I know, I know.
So that's why I
It's
think it will be interesting. Like people might like it because it's data structures, but in Go
yeah,
instead of like Python.
Yeah.
yes. So let's move
Let's
on. So one of the bigger news recently is that the community actually have ported Linux to Mac Mini. It's actually running the Raspberry Pi version of Ubuntu. So network is working and all that. Not everything works, but the baseline computer actually works now. So you get networking, USB, as you can see, that etc. So that works. My
Yep.
bigger concern is how many more work they need to do because so for example things like the Rosetta, was there a hardware feature or software feature? If it's a software feature, or no, I
It's
mean,
both.
Yeah,
yeah,
apparently it's
Uh,
both.
but apparently, some of the interests are not just to be able to put Ubuntu or to put on a Linux installation on it, but
yeah,
for people that like let's say the Firefox interest is that want to be able to distribute to both the x86 and the ARM architecture.
yeah,
So these kind of studies are useful for those use cases, for people
correct.
to be able to build softwares to support it.
Correct. So I do not know how much support they're getting because some of the because what the M1 does is it's not just an ARM, it's ARM plus multiple
Yeah,
things,
it's a
including
SOC.
various
Yeah.
coprocessor and all that. So how the porting works will be very interesting actually.
Yeah.
But
Because
surprisingly, Apple leave it open for now,
Correct.
so people can
likely.
try it out. Is they are not doing anything illegal. It's actually it's not advertised by Apple, but they didn't actually
Yeah,
seal it off.
correct.
And the thing is there are already powerful ARM processors, but they never really took off because x86 architecture is very, very dominant. And I think the
Correct.
reason why M1 is very interesting is because of the ability to um, the Rosetta 2 integration. So the ability to emulate x86 with very, very few translation from ARM. Like
Yeah.
basically you can
And
almost
also
run directly in x86 code.
the SOC bundle everything that is
Yeah.
needed together.
Well,
Correct.
most of them, like even the RPi, for example, is the same, right? Like most of the SoCs, like they're all bundled together. But
Uh,
the problem there is if it's all just about ARM, then M1 is not going to be that like the Linux port is not going to
correct.
be that interesting because it's
Correct.
the same thing as every other ARM notebook or like computer
It's
out
not
there.
gonna be bad. It's not gonna be able to benefit
Yeah.
from the M1 speed up.
Hmm.
Correct.
And if they can crack the Rosetta 2 thing, then that would be a very, very interesting laptop indeed. Like it's
Yes.
going to unleash all of the power there because all of your past libraries during the transition phase will still be running even with a small performance hit, but you can still make use of it. So
And
which is
also,
what is happening right now on
correct.
Apple.
And also another thing that's interesting is because the GPU is not standard on the ARM devices.
Mm.
Raspberry Pi had their own ARM GPU, which the Raspberry Pi Foundation distribute as a binary driver on Linux, which is why it's a bit complicated on the Pi. to work on other distribution. So it's the same for the M1 because the GPU, even though it's on the same on the processor, but I do not know whether they will able to access it. So, which is why again very interesting. More to come. Is something that we will look at.
Let's see then.
Even, yeah. So the next one is Wine had a new version. Wine is actually the system call emulation layer. So some update and all that. They don't update quite often, but when it does, it's just that lah. So this is interesting for me because quite a few things underneath it is Wine. For example, if you use Proton by Steam, there's a Wine plus extra stuff. So
and the performance is really good these days. It's no
Yes.
longer like the last time when we were doing hard emulation, right?
Correct. So Wine always have been trying to emulate the system call, meaning that you don't run a full emulator, but it used to be translating the system call itself is a problem. But it's better nowadays. I've been playing some game, some Windows game on Wine, not on Wine, on Proton. Yeah, which is actually a for Wine. It works pretty well. I hope that Proton will actually pick up and maybe we get something cool out of it. So, anything to add? No, I'm going to move on. Ruby now runs on Google Cloud Function. This is new to me because I didn't know Ruby can run on it. But if your Ruby will need it, you can use it.
It ran on GCP before, but not Cloud Functions.
Yeah.
You need a proper interpreter to run it as a Cloud Function, right? So.
Yeah, I thought GCP is really just the Linux server, right? Anything can run on it.
Yeah, but the Cloud Function needs a proper interpreter to run the thing. You don't actually bundle the interpreter on your Cloud Function. So they didn't have that before, and now they have it.
Yeah. So if you're a Ruby developer, you want to try Google stuff, go ahead, have fun. If you found something interesting, do tell us because we want to know. So the next one is okay. So the first disclaimer is not our fault. So what happened is Elastic actually changed the license for Kibana and Elasticsearch the day after last week episode of DevKami. So they're switching to server-side public license (SSPL), which is actually a problem because according to the agreement, it will affect how your company's intellectual property, and more importantly, the way most of I know quite a few companies actually using Elasticsearch for search and Kibana for the dashboard. So this will be interesting. On the other hand,
it's actually fine. It's actually fine to use it internally, right?
Correct.
But it's only affected if you try to offer it as a SaaS.
Like what Amazon actually does. So, which is actually under
no, Amazon also breached the trademark, right? Because they named their product. They just violated it. Just like I'm gonna take a fork of Firefox and call it Firefox as well.
Correct. So, so it's interesting. I understand why, but it's also interesting how this impact the software market and our community. But open distro for Elasticsearch exists, so maybe it's not that big of a deal. It's just something interesting.
Speaking of Firefox, you'll notice that some distributions don't bundle Firefox, but bundle Iceweasel. I think Debian bundles Iceweasel.
Yeah, correct.
Firefox.
Same reason.
Yeah, they had to change some things, and because it's not Firefox anymore, they can't risk the trademark because they had it's like they had to remove some telemetry or some things, so they have to brand it something else, which is like now it's Iceweasel, but they're basically the same.
Correct. So the next one is Fitbit joined Google. We're waiting for this for a while. So from our little community, people are asking when Google will kill them.
Surprisingly, that I'm actually looking for a smart tracker, but apparently this announcement discouraged me from looking at Fitbit.
Yeah. So I hope they really keep it. And
Another thing
because
is that the concern I have is that how we're gonna be discontinuing Fitbit's functionalities or
Correct.
support.
Correct. So it's like when Google bought Nest, but the product do last for a while. Then Google
Yeah,
do a
then
few
it
things,
stayed.
quite a few years. So what the user will read is something like this, and also the fact that nowadays there's a big concern of privacy, and it's now built up to Google, and the data on Fitbit is pretty sensitive. So there is a worry for it lah.
Yeah, like I don't want to have all the eggs in the same basket.
Correct. So it's actually valid. So something to think about. May Fitbit last for a while lah. So next one, this is actually not new. This is actually not new. This is, in fact, the article that last talking about this is in August last year, but this is interesting for me. So, what do you know about zero-shot classification?
Yeah.
So what happened is traditional neural network, whatever neural network, to train something, you need to supply with training. Then you need to tell them that this is
Oh, I
about
remember it.
space.
It's like it will figure out itself, right?
So this one, when it means with zero shot, I already tested it. So what it does is you supply a document and you supply the tag. It actually managed to get the guess pretty well in a way that you do not need to do training. You need to do some training in a way that you need to tag the document, but you don't actually have to do. You don't actually have to do a big training. I hope I can show this to you guys. So this is actually, this is not the app. So this is actually a screenshot that I do. So the document, this is actually from the podcast Real Python podcast, I believe. So I made a copy, then I actually add a few tag, Python programming animals. So notice that the animals part is actually 0.4. So which is actually very interesting that they managed to detect Python is a programming language, and of course Python because it's there. So yeah, zero-shot learning is actually very interesting. It's something that I've been looking at. And Hugging Face is one of the well-known machine learning library for text classification. So what it provides is it provides a lot of things like question and answer, entity extraction, sentiment analysis, and all that. And do you remember Hussein, the creator of Malaya? He created something for that can usable for Hugging Face, and he created a Malay version for zero-shot classification. So I'm looking forward to this because I'm lazy and I'm a software developer, not a machine learning engineer. So I hope this is something that I can just use in my project. So what do you guys think?
Yeah, well, if it's easy to run, then hopefully more people
Yeah.
tries it out.
Correct.
It's a
Because
library, right? He's making the library available, right?
Hugging Face is the library, so I'm highlighting the library right now.
Yeah.
It's really just that. So yeah.
It's not just an online service. It's actually making the code
Correct.
available.
Correct. I did not test this on my own computer, but it should, according to the documentation, it should run now. So next one. So we had a new podcast. I think this is done by my friend in the security community. It's called Security lah. They're actually on. Oh, actually, then. Okay, I may know them. So either way, they are on Spotify now. You can actually visit Security lah.
Oh, the site is back again.
Yes. So it's on Spotify and all that. So if you're interested, join in. These guys are pretty good. Or more like these guys are good in a way that I think I know the guys. At least they're part of the circle that I think they're pretty good. So yeah, Security lah. The links is on DevKami website. You can just find it there. Find the latest episode. It should be there.
I should be able to guess their names from the about.
Yeah. So the next one is Red Hat Enterprise
Correct, I'm
Linux.
wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. So
In short, it looks like a free trial to me.
correct. It is a free trial. Even though it's actually sound generous that you can put it on shelf server and all that, and for startups, often it is just that you
Free.
don't get a server for
Yeah, I
the
mean,
first place. Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, what's the
because
reason
they
to
are
use them again?
business. So
if I need something, because the previous reason to subscribe to Rail is that when we have issue, they're gonna patch it to upstream, right?
correct.
So I don't know. If I just want regular patch, I have a lot of options.
Correct. And also this model is actually very similar to IBM. You know that IBM used to provide the DB2 server that you can download up to certain size and certain user level.
It's
the same model actually.
That is like Windows Server and also Outlook Server, right?
Correct. So in this case, they can give you free access to shelf server simply because you're not if you only have few servers, that's not they don't really bother about you actually. But those company with data centers or those company that for some reason want to keep shelf servers, then that's the guys they want to target, those are the guys that are willing to pay the money, right? So in the way it is demo, but it is what it is lah. And I'm an Ubuntu and Debian
I don't know.
user, so
It's just for me. It's just TLDR free trial.
yes. And next one,
Oh,
so
the price is
Raspberry,
good.
yeah. So Raspberry Pi Pico is actually a new product from the Raspberry Pi Foundation. This is actually the first microcontroller class of devices from the Raspberry Pi Foundation, meaning it doesn't run Linux. It's a single computer.
It was designed by the Raspberry Pi Foundation, so they designed it
Correct.
themselves.
Yes.
This is the Raspberry Pi version, but the chip itself is available separately. And so Arduino is making their own Arduino RP2040. Adafruit is making their own Feather RP2040 and the Itsy Bitsy 2040.
Wait,
using the chip.
Okay. Okay. So in this case, the Raspberry Pi Foundation actually designed the
for memes, since Swimming also shared it out for memes. Why don't you use 555?
Because the short answer is you cannot put MicroPython in the 555, but let's not worry about that part.
You just need enough 555s to make MicroPython run.
Yes.
With enough 555s, you can have it run. Yeah, but so the Raspberry Pi this is the first chip they designed. So this is not the Pi 4, for example, is a BCM, like a Broadcom chip, right? So they did not design it; they just bought the chip and had it manufactured specifically for the Raspberry Pi, and then that's what it's in.
It was donated by Broadcom, right?
It's donated by.
That's why they can have it for so cheap, right?
Yeah,
and also,
and also.
And also Broadcom can do that because it's a foundation that get tax deduction, and they also
the founders of the OG of Raspberry Pi folks they are from Broadcom also, right?
Yeah. Correct.
Well, now Raspberry Pi has grown up. They decide this is the first designed microcontroller by the Pi, and so it's interesting. It's an ARM M0 class, but apparently from Adafruit they say it runs at 133 megahertz, which is usually what the M4 processors run at. So it's an M0 class, so it means it doesn't have hardware floating point. You have to do it in software, but it is fast. So for those that you don't need integer stuff, I think like if John Carmack was here, he would have lots of like fun doing in like floating point related stuff without using floating point and just using lots of integer hacks.
You know the first version of the Raspberry Pi actually doesn't have a floating point processor as well.
Yeah, correct. it works well enough, and it's
There's
secure.
no there's no timer. Not it was
Yeah.
pretty close to
Correct.
that, but it runs
So
Linux.
yeah, so indeed, but this one it doesn't run Linux. It runs something else. It's
Yeah,
programmable with Cypress.
you run it directly
Re-
with the SDK. So you usually will have it in
re-
Zephyr, for example.
Correct.
Regardless, the price point is very sexy.
Actually, it's as comparable with the ESP. To be honest, it's comparable with the ESP.
It's
The
it's
ESP is a
no,
bit
but
more
it's so
expensive.
much more convenient to work with. The
Correct.
form factor
Correct.
is
But does this have Bluetooth and Wi-Fi? I actually didn't check. I don't think it has.
I'm looking. No. In fact, they don't have all that. They really only have the USB as a communication.
Yeah. So I don't think they have wireless comms. So that's
The-
the thing
uh-huh.
here.
I would say this is alternative to Arduino.
Yeah,
Correct.
Arduino is
fighting-
making their own thing, their own nano version of this.
Yes.
Yeah, but I don't think anybody can beat the price lah.
Yeah.
This price is quite cheap. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. It's reasonably
Less
cheap.
than 20 ringgit is
Well,
like
it's actually
even-
good because
Yeah.
the Atmel processor on the Arduino Uno is like very, very old, and like I don't understand why people are still using it.
Yes.
It's just that there are lots
Because
of
of hype.
libraries. So that's,
No.
well,
It's
I guess the
everywhere.
libraries.
The Atmega 32P is 328P is literally everywhere
Mm.
because the Arduino market then it's very cheap. So then suddenly, the Atmega 328P it used to be like that. Then suddenly the ESP guys come in and they can make it cheaper than the Arduino, and they get Wi-Fi for free.
Yeah,
This
but
is the
you see, that's for the hobbyist market. It's very, very popular. But on actual appliances, let's say, then yeah, you still have your Atmega chips. You still have your like small ARM processors.
yes.
You don't really see ESP chips, unless it's
Oh.
like something like IT, like the Sonoff's one, right? You
Correct.
don't
Correct.
see that as much. You usually get like NRF 5251s.
Yes.
Just because it's very like the ESP chips have a different architecture. It's the Extensa thing.
Correct.
It's not as well known as like the ARM
Yes.
stuff, right? ARM has Mbed, Zephyr, all of these things, and of course you have your Atmel stack, which everyone has been using Atmel for the last few years. So it's a
The
lot
IDE
easier for industrial design.
exists. The toolkit exists and it's really commonly used. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this. And more importantly, this is actually something that a kid can buy with their angpao money. So
Yeah.
it's interesting.
inclusive a few LEDs, resistors, and a breakboard. It will be less than
Yeah.
50 for a really cheap.
Oh,
one.
they have that pack. Swimming, you have to
Oh,
check
really?
out Hot Deals.
Yeah.
If you go to Hot Deal,
Yeah.
this top like the Hot Deal at the on Citron.
Okay. So
There's a new item called Hot Deal.
Oh, the basic kit. Oh, the basic small breakboard is actually just 14. So 15 ringgit.
Yeah, at the
Yeah.
top.
So
Swimming,
ended up
it's at
is
the very
just-
top.
Okay.
So
Okay.
ended up
fine,
is
yeah.
just 30 ringgit in total.
I love
says-
No,
it.
it's actually
Categories. Yeah, that's Young Maker. It's the left.
no. You just need
Discover
to scroll
Hot
down.
Deal.
Actually,
Okay.
you just need to scroll down. I think
Scroll down.
scroll down for the recommendation.
Oh,
The
Yeah,
very
see on the
bottom
side. See on the side. See on the new arrivals on the side. No, on the
New
right side.
Yeah.
left, right, here.
The right sidebar.
Yeah,
Yes.
scroll down.
Scroll down.
Scroll down. Scroll. Yeah, this one.
Okay.
The whole kit. Yeah, you can see it. New arrivals
Oh,
up there.
okay.
So the total bundle is with no lah, not this lah. The bundle
Okay.
lah, the bigger bundle lah, with a breakboard.
Okay.
Scroll
okay.
down again.
Uh,
It's quite difficult to to give instructions to Swimming today.
Yeah. Scroll
Yeah.
down. Scroll down. Yep.
Yes,
this
it says
is the first
bundle.
one. Just.
Yeah. Click on that. How much is it?
Yeah, they are.
37.
37 for the this is a bigger bundle. There's actually a cheaper bundle. But this is good enough to show the how cheap it is. Like basically,
Yeah.
might be a few ang pao worth of money.
Yeah. So if I happen to give ang pao this next year, I'm actually give something like this. When they show me something else, stupid thing, I give
Pro
that.
Micro is using the @Mega 32U4, right? It's the Arduino
Assuming I'm
Leonardo.
gonna share you the link in the private chat.
This is an ARM processor. That's an Atmel processor. This is much faster than the Pro Micro.
You can still use ARM.
Yeah.
Work with all your your ARM, your compiler, everything still.
But this one doesn't have. This one doesn't have the Pico. So
no, I mean just the kit itself.
Oh, okay,
Added
okay.
up, the price is like, it's less than 35 ringgit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this bundle, like, used to the Arduino Uno that I got used for this used to be cost me around like 100 to 150.
Yes.
Yeah, and the ESP32 probably costs the same as the whole kit already.
Yeah. Correct. So
It's
interesting.
a good time. It's a good time for people to want to try out things, and for kids who want to pick up.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's actually about the same. The whole thing. This device is just a whole set of the lab. I don't know. It's cheap.
Yeah.
It's
Those are proximity sensors, right? That's already
correct.
interesting.
Yes.
Like you can do a lot of things with proximity sensors.
Correct. And also, these guys can run. Can they run TensorFlow, right?
I don't think there's a library right now.
You need depending on the runtime supported.
Okay,
You
because
need
I
the
thought I
runtime.
read it somewhere. Like, I could be wrong.
Yeah,
But
you need the runtime unless it comes with the runtime.
yeah. So in a way, interesting time. Can't wait to play it. I need some income, but I mean I can buy it, but I have other priorities. So yes, fun time. So I think that's about it for Bus Corner.
All the links are in devkami.com/ where
I'm actually sharing to colleagues as well, like for if they want to try out or they want their kids to try out.
Yeah.
Do you have the Pico link there, Swimming? Do you have the Pico link on the show notes on 118?
Oh, you want me to add this one as well?
I think like the actual Pico in Citron.
Yeah, it's actually here. It's actually
Yeah. So if anyone wants to know the links that we've discussed here, you can visit the episode in devkami.com and you'll see this. You'll see those.
So yeah, actually today's show was actually asking you guys your opinion about the Pico and the Linux port to the M1, but I might forget it. I think we already covered everything just now. So on the other hand, I'm really out of topic now. So what we want to talk about today?
I don't know.
Justin has a lot of
Let's do a bit of updates.
to. Yeah. So Justin says he just bought a Pro Micro and a USB host shield to build. I don't know what a Hasu USB is. So it's for. So he's using the Pro Micro because it has USB emulation, and so you can have like macro stuff on a keyboard. I'm trying to do the same thing for an NRF52 because you can have something like Bluetooth keyboards, for example, and Bluetooth mice. You remember? I think I showed you the laser pointer and the remote, what they call clicker that I did from.
I think
before.
this one is powerful enough for us to do sort of like not really shield, but like sometimes for guitars they have the pedal, right?
Actually,
pedal like for keyboard and mouse or something like that to tune the speed and everything. Because the price is cheap and the possibility is limitless.
So the difference between a Pro Micro, I mean, in this case I thought this is the Arduino Pro Micro, is it?
It's a Pro Micro. It's the Leonardo chip, the Atmega 32U4.
So it's also an ARM, but it's also slightly different. That one I believe is also ARM based, I believe. I think the
I
other
don't
is
think
ARM.
32U4 is ARM. It's at Mega.
Yeah,
It's
they do have one. They do have one.
no, the at
Uh,
Mega ARM chips are not the they're not the at Mega ones. Anyway,
yeah, so it's a different architecture.
yeah.
It also provide a bit more GPIO in a way that they have you can have more what's the name of it called? What's the thing you used to run server? PWMs. You got more PWMs, for
Yeah.
example. Uh, so the so Also, Pro Micro is using a 8-bit. That one is a 32-bit, so you can actually squeeze more code, more faster, and all that. The micro, you cannot run MicroPython. You cannot run MicroPython on it.
So
But
the thing about so if Justin is asking which one to go for with his project, do it with the 32U4 right now because that has most of the libraries. And if you're just using it for a keyboard macro thing, then it's powerful enough. You don't need more
Oh,
power for that.
and also you bought it.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, correct.
it's already there. You use it. And the
Yes,
problem with the RP2040, the chip, even though it has USB capabilities, there's not a lot of libraries available right now. And
correct.
it's relatively new. It's a new kid on the block. Not a lot of people have written it. They apparently Zephyr OS has a port for it, and maybe you can use some of the libraries in Zephyr, but it's not Arduino. So
Yeah,
Arduino will eventually have a port of the Arduino framework for the
correct.
RP2040, but it's not yet there. So that's the thing, and uh, it's just the Atmega 32U4 is just more well supported than
Yes,
RP2040. So just stick with that for now.
correct, correct. So you can program it with the Arduino for one, so that's a big
No,
difference.
but if you know, I don't know if you can make an equivalence for people who know Arduino and people who know C and C++.
Yeah,
Probably like maybe Justin would, but if you already know C++ and C, then it should be easy to just port over some of the.
The thing also like for people that just want to pick up, don't be scared by the C and C++. It's not the C and C++
yes,
we're gonna use to build a web server.
correct.
So the language that we use are gonna be a small subset of it. It's just an enabler.
Yeah,
So
correct.
Mhm.
it's not like the crazy. You need to learn like all sort of ins and out of those languages in order to be able to do something.
Correct.
Yeah. So you were talking about Swimei, you were talking about the Linux on M1 as well, right?
Yeah, correct. So let me.
So if anyone wants to try, because I have the M1, I bought it
Yeah,
like last week of the last year, so
yeah,
it arrived. You can also already try out how things are if you have a Raspberry Pi like 3 or 4,
yeah,
or you have or you can run QEMU or something like that on your M1 and have
yeah,
an ARM version of the distribution installed, because that's basically the similar thing. And again, like I mentioned, like on the while you were we were talking about the links,
yeah,
because there's no x86 emulation, it's very difficult. Not a lot of libraries have an ARM, like have their ARM ports working.
yeah,
So like using the Linux version of ARM for my work, for example, because I do some of the, I need to compile a few of the libraries because they're like, for example, Live V8. They
yeah,
don't really work well with just ARM,
yes.
at least for the lower node versions. I think
Mm,
I mentioned it before, the Node 8 or Node 10, it doesn't really compile well uh, with the M1 for ARM. You need the x86 versions. Node 15 is like the earliest version that actually has support for ARM. And so it's going to be a problem. But if you want to try it out, use a Pi 4 as if it's your work computer, let's say, or your test computer. And that's basically the state of Linux on ARM.
right.
And
So
it's not the same. It's not the same as Intel. I wouldn't replace your work laptop with an M1 for now, for example, even if it can run Linux.
right. So okay. so very new and all that lah. Okay. I'm actually looking for laptops nowadays because my laptop is pretty worn out. So if this job interview didn't work out, I'm going to start freelance soon. Or I'm going to online to beg for you guys to donate to DevKami to pay for my salary. So seriously, so I'm actually looking for laptops. I'm not an Apple user, so
But what laptop do you have right now?
it's the XPS 13 that I get in 2013.
Is it the Broadwell, the 5000
Yeah,
class
yeah, yeah,
chip?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
chip
yeah,
jet?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
Yeah.
have that as well. How come you have that? It's the one with the webcam at the bottom, right?
Yeah, correct.
That's actually quite nice, but it's
Yeah,
a
it's
dual core
actually
though.
nice.
It's quite old.
Yeah, and also because what happened is I just cleaned up my laptop and a few places cracked already. I, I'm pretty rough on my laptop now. Amazing that it's actually run for 6 years. Except for the past 2 years, I don't run it
Is
as
it still
much.
running right now?
It is runnable, but the battery doesn't work as well. The battery charge doesn't hold and all
Yeah,
that.
it's just normal, but at least everything still works lah.
Correct.
Screen and the
That's the
keyboard.
bit.
I got a battery replacement for one of my other Dell XPS, the 15,
Yeah,
from AliExpress. So you can actually get. I don't know if they still deliver batteries over post.
yeah.
I managed to get one from overseas. I don't know how they made it, but yeah. So maybe you can try it out, or maybe you can just buy the battery and have it replaced.
Actually,
Because that's
it's actually a bit worse because the power port. Because at that time I was sitting on the floor, and my former colleague accidentally kicked it. The port at the power port actually broken. It's very broken. It can
Mm.
charge only at an order, which is why I'm start looking at it and using the computer as my backup laptop. So which is why I'm looking at. But that's a real reason because let me show you if I can. Give me a while.
I'll try to see if I can find it as well. So Chilyong, you're here for now. Wait, let me
Yeah.
find it in
I
my
just
closet.
I just throw away a bunch of my old laptops.
Yeah. Okay. Wait. Give me a moment. So notice that there's a crack here at the power area. So when I open it, it's actually open.
Yeah, but the form factor is still pretty good, right?
Yeah, correct.
It aged
And
pretty
also,
well.
I also clean up these because these things are so sticky. So I had to use alcohol to clean it
Yeah,
up. But otherwise,
integrated
it works very well. It works very well.
it's normally cleanable with the alcohol
Yeah.
thing that we
How does
use,
yours
right?
look like again? Sorry, I didn't see it.
So, okay, notice the power port at this side.
Yeah.
I'm going to open it.
Mm-hmm.
It's very
Yeah,
bad.
because no, the problem. So I had the same problem. So it's the same thing, right? This is the same.
Yeah.
The same Dell XPS.
Yeah.
The problem was because I didn't screw it on correctly.
Yeah.
I think when you
No,
probably did a repair or something, and I was wondering why does it when it opens it's like it's cracking, but then I had to just screw it correctly eventually.
No, this is actually a bit worse in the way that my colleague last time actually accidentally kicked the cable when I charging the computer.
Mm-hmm.
So now I have to adjust the power plug just so that it can charge. So it's actually
see.
pretty bad damage.
Did you
It
also have to
works.
clean out the
Yes.
very sticky residue here? Okay, it's the
Yes,
same.
I use
It's
alcohol
it's
for
a
that.
problem.
I
Yeah.
use alcohol and it works. So which is why I'm actually looking at one. I do not mind getting a Windows laptop. I know how
don't
to
think there are any other laptops other than Mac or Windows, right?
Yeah.
Nobody here in Malaysia sells a Linux laptop.
Correct. So in my case, I don't mind getting a Windows laptop. So, and I'm probably going to stick with Windows simply because.
Fun fact: if you pay tax every year anyway. Oh, the tax relief for that laptop. I thought it's for your personal tax. It's already we already have it for every year.
Yeah. And you're supposed to only use that every 3 years.
So I don't know how this tax relief actually works. Like, is this the exception that you get, like exemption?
Yeah,
from
I did.
like
Oh no! Oh, I'm actually reading it right now.
Yeah.
It's actually for the employers. So if you buy buy work laptop for your employees, you get tax break.
Yeah.
So
But the thing is,
so the employer gets a tax break. Oh,
yes.
yeah,
So if
individual up to individual are also individual and also for the employer.
if I'm going to
Yeah,
freelance,
I think it's now
so
per year lah.
yeah.
It
So
makes
if I
sense lah.
freelance,
Come
I
on
have to
lah.
do that.
For e-learning, if you have just imagine if you have
Huh?
3 kids,
Yes.
you need 3 laptops at least.
yeah.
Correct.
Or you need 3
And-
Raspberry
and-
Pis and monitors.
It doesn't work because you need those like Zoom and things to work.
Yeah, yeah,
If you want
Ah.
to do the troubleshooting, and also
Yes.
sometimes like like schools they'll ask for all sort of weird software to be installed as well.
Yes.
The
Especially
monitoring
and also
software, right?
those talking about like online exam, right? Also like some schools or unis or they decide to have you install a really intrusive software to check whether you cheat during the exam.
Oh,
That's
the
really
more
bad.
to get an ARM laptop or ARM computer, like, can they blame you if the software doesn't work on your laptop? But Zoom works.
I mean,
so
like
it's
just
okay.
like how back in the days when we're in schools and you just talk about and you tell your teacher that you don't have Microsoft Word because you're not on Windows. Do they care? No, they don't care. They just want it.
So so I'm actually thinking. So I have some crazy idea for my laptop. I'm thinking to get a gaming
Yeah.
laptop.
There's a
because-
shortage of everything.
Yeah,
Yes.
And also
there is.
and also inclusive of because one of my brother he works in the line also apparently for Windows laptops as well
Yeah. I
all
know.
over Malaysia. So people are flipping laptops.
Yeah.
That's why at this time Apple seems to be a okay choice because right now all the price are inflated.
Yeah, the thing
Yeah.
is, for laptops, their minimum is about 4,200, I think.
Correct.
And
Correct.
plus, you can have it cheaper if you have used
I'm-
the student discount.
I'm glad back in the days I'm using those cheap laptops that last me 2 or 3 years, which cost me
yeah.
less than 2,000 ringgit.
Yeah.
I never
So
never bought anything more expensive than that because I'll actually look at the replacement rate lah. So they make sense with the rate that I replace it. But they break within 4 years lah.
Yes.
Well, so if Swimming is looking for gaming laptops, I don't think that's actually a bad idea, because that's like, usually gaming laptops are workstation class. It's just that they don't have the
Yeah.
reliability, right?
And
Because
also
people
And also the
use it for
battery
game.
life, the portable
Yeah, the
battery
battery
life.
life. So,
the
but maybe the
keyboard-
question there for Swimming is like, what do you need a laptop for if you already have a desktop? Desktops usually
Yeah,
are
that's the
much
thing, right?
bang of the.
That's the thing, right? It's the
I
same
think it's for
question
your
because
if unless you're thinking about going out to meet customer and to have demo, but these days, yeah,
Yeah, tablets
Yeah,
are
so-
fine for those.
you have some lead time if you're gonna pursue your freelance project that you don't need to go there, right?
yeah.
You
That's
can't go
that's
there
what
right
I'm
now.
thinking as well, because originally I'm really thinking of that simply for presentation purposes. That's it. That's about
Yeah,
it.
but these days you're gonna go out anyway.
Correct. So my computer is still working. My PC is mostly working.
Your
Recently
laptop
there's
is still
more
working.
kernel. Yeah. So just a bit more kernel panic, but otherwise fine. Otherwise was
I
working
don't
fine.
really understand why for that. It just happens.
Mhm.
Yeah. Correct.
So, sorry, Chris is saying if he can buy an SSD to upgrade the notebook, he can claim it. So
I
we're
don't
not
think
tax
so.
people. I don't think.
I don't
Yeah.
think so.
Okay.
Yeah, like we buy parts every year. Like
Yeah.
I don't think I can claim it.
But
Yeah.
so speaking of that, though, my employer did have a new policy starting like 1st of January, which is like home office. I forgot the title, home office refurbishment or something like that, fund or something, where you can claim part of the cost that you bought something. So maybe Chris, you can convince your employer to also like help you with some of the furnishing of your home office. Like for example, if you buy an SSD, maybe you can pay half, and your employer can pay the other half up to a certain amount.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But on the
But
other hand,
so
if you have component for the whole computer, you can claim it.
I don't
Yeah, you
know.
put
I
it
think it
as
has to be a single receipt that you actually bought a computer. I don't think you can buy a laptop piecemeal and then you say you assemble it and then that's claimable.
No. So because the reason I say that is because when you go when you go to the shop, when you buy the whole package for a whole computer to be assembled,
Actually,
the
that's
computer.
that's interesting. Maybe you can collaborate with a friend and just buy the stuff separately, then ask your friend to buy it for you with the receipts and etc.
But
And then assembly fee, and then you buy it from him, and then just as long as he gives you a receipt.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
that
it
would.
get weird.
You know, there's a
So
cap.
speaking,
No, you know, there's a
yeah,
cap on the fee or on the tax relief, right? It's like around 2,000 something. It's gonna exceed
Yeah, yeah,
that anyway.
yeah.
yeah.
So which
So
is why people
speaking of the laptop, have you tried the either Level 51 or Ilagear laptops? Those are like
uh,
the cheap ones. They're actually good. I buy my high-end laptops from them since for the past 10 years.
I'm considering it. I'm considering it because illegal. Okay, partly because I have a few friends that use it and they like it, and yeah, it's the price looks okay. Something I consider because another reason originally I'm thinking to get a, a Windows laptop is because occasionally I do game, not always, but
Mhm.
occasionally. So having that is not a bad idea.
You know, the
Uh,
good thing about some of these new OEMs is that they actually source it from China
yeah,
Yeah.
via OEM suppliers. So, and there are some known models that they might be importing that are known to support whole Linux out the box.
yeah.
hmm Yeah. So, for example, the XMG line, uh, Schenker, basically in Europe,
Mm-hmm.
they have they have a companion um, laptop, like a sister laptop site called Tuxedo Systems or something, which is exactly the same laptops. It's just that they write the not the drivers, but they source the drivers, etc., and make it and sell it as a Linux laptop. So
Yeah,
basically, if you buy the same Clevo chassis or Tongfang chassis, for example, from
Yeah.
a manufacturer, then
Yeah.
and Tuxedo Laptops also sells those, then you basically know that Linux support is there. There are a few differences, like I think they sometimes they change the fingerprint reader or some of them.
You know, like the Obersuze one is actually this like from the same OEM as well.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, same goes
So,
System 76.
yeah.
Yeah. So
So
my level
So if
51,
you
I think
can,
I talked about it before, the 3900X in the laptop, that has a System 76 version, which is why
right,
this works very well with Linux.
yeah.
right.
So you need
Something
to
to think
find them.
about. So,
Just
yeah,
it's funny, right? And some
yeah,
of them actually pack, and some of them depending on that, then some of them they pack an open source BIOS even.
yeah. Simply because it's cheaper. Because if they can do it, it may be cheaper.
And
Because
also because of
that's
the
a
recent
bias.
trade war sensitivity, lah, they can
Yeah,
bypass that. Lah.
correct. So and also your BIOS nowadays is a computer, which is a whole can of worm, which a totally
Yeah.
whole can of worm because you had a full blown operating system, meaning you can go very crazy
Yeah.
if you manage to access it. But that's another
But
story.
then again, what are you going to use a laptop for? Because for example, I have the M1. I'm
Yeah.
using it for tinkering, but for work purposes, I'm basically using it as a thin client.
Uh,
My actual
no,
work stuff happens on the NAS server, a VM
I
in the
don't
NAS
have.
server, right?
Now that you remind me of the whole MCO thing, I don't actually have a strong idea because original plan to get a laptop is before the new quarantine.
Mm-hmm.
So before the new quarantine, I have to meet people. Then yes, but then it reminds me that people like to go online nowadays because of the virus. So maybe I can skip for now.
Yeah.
I can skip for now.
Or just think about what you need the laptop for. Because if it's just a thin client, then you can get by with like the cheap laptops, and like, I mean, if you just really need like something to move around the house so that you're not always down, right? So you can move around and you can still continue working. Because Chilong, you mentioned in the DevKami's channel in Slack, right? You really like the port forwarding. That's actually basically what I use all day when I'm working, because I do a lot of web development, and I have a number of ports that I have to connect to. So VS Code forwarding is like just, I don't have to manually do the SSH port forwarding anymore.
Previously you have to do SSH for each port, right?
Yeah, for each port. Now it's just, a port came up because you ran it in VS Code, right? The port came up. Okay, would you like to forward this? Okay, and then put it as part of your configuration. It's very, very convenient. It's like Emacs now. Everything is there, like an operating system.
All they need is an email. All they need is a kernel.
I'm sure someone can write an email plugin that connects to Gmail or something.
No, I'm sure there's one already.
There's one already. Yeah. I should get that.
So VS Code is VS Code just need a kernel and it's a full-blown operating system.
So Nicholas is saying, sorry?
Can they do butterfly?
I don't know if, I'm sure there's a plugin already.
I bet you can write a JavaScript extension.
So yeah, Nicholas saying he was thinking of Illigir. They come with Windows. So I think what happened, so they do come with Windows, but this is the unlicensed version.
Yeah.
I think what's happening right now is they want to or guarantee that they did the testing, the drivers, or that the laptop was working by the time it was turned over. And because like they do stress testing, they do driver installation, etc. They probably had some bad experiences where people say buy the no OS and then you have like more returns. Oh, this is not working. This is not working. Yeah. So they wanted to say, okay, this is complete. This is working as it is. They can demo it, and so they don't have to remove the SSD or the installation drive, and then it's because it's a no OS thing, right? So they just deliver it, but it's unlicensed. You still have to buy a license. I don't think they package it without the license.
Yes. Oh, they do these days. Windows 10s, because they still run without a license.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is not from Illigir, but my laptop did not come with a license. I didn't buy one.
I think they relaxed it a bit.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean you can install Windows without the license. The end user still needs to buy the license for Windows.
Yeah.
You just install it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, will be also interesting for me for Windows version is how well the deep learning thing goes for WSL. That's something I want to know. Just curious, just for some curiosity.
Yeah. So
it's still not there yet. The WSL is workable, but it's not the best. I mean, it's still some compromise involved.
Oh, I think we did cover it before, right? WSL now has access to the GPU.
Yeah, that's why I want to know. Mm-hmm. So something that I want to experiment.
But don't you have Windows there right now?
The IO performance is still horrible.
Yeah, IO is horrible.
Yeah,
you can't use it for Arduino developments.
Yeah, don't if you use a Ruby or Python or Node.js and you try to install modules that install a lot of things, you'll be miserable.
Okay. So I'm currently on Ubuntu fully. I used to have a Windows machine, but for some reason I use the older.
I think probably with the newer hardware, the speed up is not noticeable for you, I don't know.
Yeah, correct.
If you have a NVMe drive, then probably the speed up will compensate that.
Yes, precisely.
So what do you have right now as your desktop?
Ubuntu fully.
Yeah, but what are your system specs?
It's a Ryzen 4. It's an older Ryzen.
Older Ryzen. I have a Hasbro, so you're not that old.
So this Ryzen actually had an onboard AMD. That's the version. I don't remember the name. They had an onboard GPU, but I added with a GTX 1060 instead of the NVIDIA, instead of the AMD one. So 8 GB, 256 GB SSD and all that.
I think that's still okay. I think that's actually quite
It's
current.
very good. It's very good. So it's still I can still do machine learning until I mess up with the until I mess up with the driver installation. The
Mhm.
installation works in a way that I can play game and all that, but the big but here is the TensorFlow doesn't support the latest version of CUDA,
Mhm.
and NVIDIA doesn't provide that, so it get
Yeah.
complicated.
So
So
maybe what you can do is, instead of buying a laptop right now, which doesn't, I don't really know if it makes sense for you, maybe
yeah,
something like a cheap one as a remote client, a thin
yeah,
client. But what might be the best bang for your buck would be either an SSD or an NVMe drive, like basically an extra
yeah,
drive, which you can install Windows, not your permanent system, but
I think
yeah.
because a
I
lot
think
of
your
the
existing laptop can be
Yeah.
your team client.
no, but
Yeah,
apparently it's actually quite broken. I think the charging mechanism is going to be a problem. It's
yeah,
also a bit
Okay.
dangerous because I can see it's breaking apart.
yeah.
So
So
yeah, I think you just need to install Windows on a separate drive just for
yeah,
the specific stuff that you need Windows for,
yeah,
because your current system is still okay.
yeah. It's still very okay. I will need to take apart the cabling because the guys that assembled it, because I'm so lazy last time. So I have somebody assemble it, and they do very good cable management. So I need to plug up the cable and all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So which is a problem.
Well, these
Yeah,
days,
because
most laptop you have are going to have support USB-C, so that's a good news.
yes, correct.
Yeah, we need another episode for what do you use at work, 2021 edition.
Next week,
We'll have that.
What
I'm
I
going
use
to
at work? What?
No, like what do you use for work? Like the stuff that you
what
use,
IDE, what IDE, what
hardware.
language, what computer
Hardware?
spec.
It doesn't matter. The hardware doesn't matter. It's just a
Do
thin
you use
client.
an M1? Do you use
No,
an
I don't use the M.
M1?
I don't use the M1, but
Why?
I don't do development at all because right now, put it this way.
Uh-huh.
If I'm in the office, I'm using literally my MacBook is a thin client to the
Yeah,
development server. So at home,
same.
I don't even turn on my laptop. I just put up my Ubuntu at the desktop, and I just SSH in and use VS Code.
I
Yeah, yeah.
imagine that.
No, that's those kinds of workflows. I think that's an interesting one because everyone that I know,
I
like in my field, they still use their own MacBook. You can hear the fans whirring, and it's very, very
I don't like
noisy.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't like it. And also
So
like
it's
because
good.
you know like the story, I'm not sure if any people remember, is that I had issue with my MacBook build quality.
Mm-hmm.
So that can be the complaint towards Apple. It can be an episode in itself.
Yes.
Apparently,
We should try
the
that.
is it's about the screw up from the what do you call the encryption chip again? A1, right? Or so A2.
I don't know,
What do you call that?
something.
I forgot what's the name. Yeah, they screw that up, so you actually end up locking my whole motherboard.
Yeah.
It's called logic board these days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So something that we can do the next episode, right, Swimming?
I'm going to do
Just talking
I will
about
do the survey tomorrow. I'm
yeah
starting
the
the
workflow, like how do you do it?
yeah, I'm going to do a survey form tomorrow. Tomorrow, then I'm going to I'm going to pass it on and pass it to the community now, so that we can share it out and all that.
Yeah.
So if I
But
don't, you can cut my salary. Oops,
yeah,
I don't-
Justin has an interesting suggestion. He's interested to know which window manager we use. So if you have
Okay.
any like other questions as well, like you'd like
Yeah.
us to answer, like what operating system do you use, or which editor, or like
Yeah.
which language, like currently, because we did the prediction a few weeks ago, but what we currently do right now, then yeah, just put it on the comments or
Yeah.
message us on Facebook or on Slack.
My answer is gonna be really skill because it doesn't matter for me. If let's say
Yeah,
I'm
but
in the middle
what
of
are you
I'm
comfortable with?
using my let's say I'm using my gaming on my Windows desktop. It's
Mhm.
the same desktop I upload it. So if I need to do some quick patch, I'll just, because now Windows come with a SSH. You don't
Yeah,
even
the
need to plug
terminal
in.
is actually quite good in Windows now. The
Yeah,
Windows
so
terminal, new Windows
I'll
terminal
just
is good.
SSH in,
Yes.
put up my VS Code,
Yes.
Yeah.
and it works.
Okay.
So that's
So
actually what I do now right now as well. Except that my development machine is at home instead of like somewhere like it's not as powerful as your development machine.
so that's next week. I will do the survey soon, and it's already 11. So I hope to get some. I will do the survey lah. So thanks for listening. That's yeah.
Yeah, I have this.
Yes, like and subscribe.
we do listen.
Oh, we
We
have
do
now.
listen to you guys'
Yes.
suggestions.
Yes.
We do
So
have this lower
Yeah.
thirds thing.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
just use VS Code. Come on. I
so I
was
think
a
that's all for
I
now.
was a Emacs user. So goodbye,
Yeah.
folks.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye. I will do the form.